Francis,
Hi, Miriam.
welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, I am. I'm excited to dive deep into facilitation and
Mm,
whatever that means to you and us, and what will come up. And
mm,
let me ask with the same question as always. When
mm.
did you start calling yourself a facilitator? And actually, do you?
I don't even remember. I do. Yeah, I do. I do call myself a facilitator very much. Yeah, but I don't remember when I started doing that. It's quite a long time ago. To be honest, um, and it started out of frustration.
Ooh.
Yes, because my uh, I have a very weird kind of background, you know. Basically, I did academic. I have an academic past in some impossible subjects, and for one reason or another, I was like put into the pedagogy kind of line
Box.
box, yeah, silo, yeah, from very early on. So I started teaching, and then when I did social work, but then when I like made the step to the corporate world, you end up in learn what is now learning and development, but was what was then just called training.
Mm.
Yeah, and that was what triggered it. Because I thought training, no, training. I never saw myself as a trainer, and I thought I think the word training is offensive. Honestly,
What do you mean by that?
it's offensive because training is what you do with animals. And I love animals, but I don't love it when animals are being trained. Basically, what it means is they're being conditioned. Yeah,
Mm.
pure Skinnerism. Yeah, like Skinner described the whole system of operant conditioning. Yeah? So what a trainer does is basically conditioning someone into changing his or her behavior according to predictable standards. So it's sort of programming people. It's very inhuman. It's repulsive, I think.
And what
It's
is then the distinction between, or what is the extra layer that facilitation would then bring in for you?
well, well, you know, the idea is, of course, when I was a trainer, I had already learned that whatever you do as a trainer is aimed at change. Change is always the ultimate goal. Yeah? Change of behavior, or
Knowledge.
I change of knowledge, change of skill level. It's always change that you're after. Yeah. So I thought instead of training you into changing your behavior in a Skinnerist way through operant conditioning, etc., yeah, what I should actually do is I should help you make it easy for you to change. And then when you see when you see the role of the trainer, the instructor, the teacher, call it whatever you want, you know, when you start seeing this role as the person who needs to help other people make it easy to learn and then to change, yeah, then the word facilitator pops up by itself. Huh?
Mm.
Facilitate is it's the easy maker. Huh? Facile is easy,
Yeah.
and facile and facile, and it's all that's what it means. It means easy, and
Yes.
hater is someone who makes something, like an operator is someone who does the op, and a facilitator is someone who does the facil. You know? So there, this is my task. My task is not to hammer knowledge into you or to hammer um, changed behavior into you or whatever. My role is to stand by you and help you see how easy it is to change.
Mm.
Because sometimes, Miriam, I'm sure that you must have had this also because you're a facilitator too, and or maybe you also have this training background. I don't know, but sometimes when you're in the start of a process and you tell people such things that yeah, the ultimate aim, ladies and gentlemen, the aim of this workshop is for us to change. And then people will tell you, but I don't want to change.
Yes.
I don't wanna. I don't
Nobody
wanna.
wants to change.
I don't want to change. I don't like change. I don't want to change. Then I say, okay, you don't have to change. It's not compulsory. It's not mandatory. You don't have to change. You just will. You don't have to.
And then,
You have to help. You have to make it easy for people to see, to understand that they are changing nevertheless.
so
Miriam, have you ever met anyone in your life who was impervious to the process of change?
I don't think that it's in the nature of human beings to appreciate change,
Okay, but we do
especially
change.
not, yes,
We're not babies,
especially
are
not
we?
imposed by others. What I find interesting in what you're saying is that the facilitator is not making the learning or the change easy, is making it easier to change, which does not necessarily mean the process easy. Because
No, yeah,
a
yeah, I see.
conversation, and we briefly spoke about that before we hit the record button, that I had with Tobias Meyer, is about making it difficult. Right? The
Mm,
facilitator's role is not to make it overly easy, because transformation comes with sweat and tears. And I think what we ultimately want is not change. What we want is transformation.
mm. Yeah, but and what we do is we are not making it easy to do that, but we are helping you to see how easy it is.
Exactly. And
If
that's what
some,
I love this distinction that you're making, because I must say that very often I stumble over this concept of making things easy. And
no,
that's not what it is that we are doing. It's,
no, the world is too complex to make it easy and to make it simple.
yeah,
That would not be doing justice to the complexity of the world or of a human being for that matter.
yeah.
We have to honor the complexity around us, and so it's not easy, but we have to help people to 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 discover that for them there are ways to perceive and go through this process in an easier way than they thought was possible.
And especially, and I'm thinking out loud, I'm not sure whether I have expressed this thought already. In nowadays, where knowledge is so accessible, there's no specific need to bring in a trainer
Mm,
to give access to the knowledge. Knowledge
precisely.
is just a click away in most of the cases. So it's not about the transfer of knowledge from one brain to another brain.
Mm,
It's rather about the way that someone is prepared to absorb the knowledge, or
precisely.
to make the knowledge their own, or to merge the knowledge with someone else's knowledge in the space, and then
Mm.
really
It's
create
about
something new.
it's about nurturing curiosity and nurturing the will of the readiness for the cooperative effort,
Mm.
because learning is very much a cooperative affair. we do not learn alone. We learn in relationship with our environment, other people. The learning is very much in the relation. The learning is hidden in words that start with re, like review, retrospective, um, uh, uh, relation, yeah,
Response.
response. Indeed, yeah, yeah. That's where learning is hidden in all the
Rescue.
words. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, go on, huh? Yeah, but that's where learning is hidden. And so, what does a facilitator do? Indeed, you know, putting the knowledge there and presenting the knowledge it's idiotic, you know. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of everything and of everyone. Plus, it's more than a waste. It's negative value, because by doing it, we bore people out, and we make people less curious, yeah, and less eager to learn themselves. And we should help people to make themselves to transform themselves into a state of being more eager to learn. So we need to nurture and to sow creativity and connection and collaboration and cooperation and critical reviewing of the information you get. Very important, yeah.
Yeah.
Valuing one kind of information against the other, yeah. Revaluation. Yeah.
And what comes to my mind is the pull versus push elements. So we can try to push knowledge into a group, into an individual, or we can pull them into the knowledge by making them curious, by opening their mind and presenting it in a way that it's enjoyable,
sure,
so that they seek it.
So, well, the lean theorists and the lean practitioners, lean manufacturing practitioners, were the first to see how extremely important this principle is, of putting pull instead of push, and having processes pulled instead of pushed. Yeah? But apart from the lean manufacturer theorists and practitioners, yeah, I immediately think of Rabindranath Tagore. Yeah? Are you familiar with Tagore?
No.
Tagore, he was he lived like in the beginning of the past century. I think he got born in 1860 something, yeah, and he passed away in the 1940s. Yeah? A Bengali, yeah. Very important thinker of about non-conventional education, you know, and he's the one I think of when you say we have to pull rather than push. You know, he specifically writes in his manifesto that everyone has the right of choice. You know, so students should choose themselves what they want to learn, and our task is to make them wanna. It is to present things in such a way that they want to. So it's the cultivation of eagerness, the cultivation of curiosity, and then they will wanna.
Yeah, and it's
efficient.
And if they want, they will remember it better, and it's so much more efficient on many levels. Precisely. So where do we apply our energy in trying to push and convince and telling someone what to do? We had a brief conversation about.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons that I started calling myself a facilitator, because I wanted to do things. I wanted to make things easy for me, also not easy to learn, but also easy to learn, but also easy to teach. You know, and I think I'm a bit of a lazy guy, you know, and this is the advantage for my clients, and for everyone I have ever worked with, I am lazy. That means that everything I do needs to be value adding. It needs to be useful. Yeah. If it's not useful, I will not want to do it. Or I
And
will put it into question. So if some client asks me to give a training, and I will say, I'd rather not. If I
and
can avoid it, I won't.
I believe that lazy facilitation is the high art of facilitation, exactly because of what you described before. So once we let go and we are lazy, the group will take whatever they need. They will nurture each other and take the lead and really learn and engage. If we are taking too much space, we're trying too hard to do too much, then it becomes the push, and we'll feel some resistance eventually from the group. And I think that's many beginner facilitators. They try so hard, they design everything, they have the session ready, they have all these activities, and then the group doesn't have any time and space and oxygen to actually be and to interact with each other and to create something from the content and from the opportunity.
I learned this from Yoshi Oida, the Japanese actor who worked with Peter Brook. And I learned it from him. He gave classes, master classes about how to be an invisible actor. And I thought we need to be invisible facilitators. Yeah. And facilitation is the art of not doing anything.
While still being present.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. You can only not do something if you're there.
Yeah.
If you're there, then you're absent, There's a difference between being absent and not doing something.
Yeah.
Not doing something is a positive action. It's provocative absence. It's applying provocative absence of anything that is superfluous, useless, and does not lead to added value in this process of helping people return themselves into the curious, eager to learn beings that they were when they were babies and toddlers. All of us were then in a sort of an ideal state with readiness to learn.
And what it implies, and that's also the similarity then to the toddler, is the almost absolute absence of ego. Because only in the absence of ego, you can be present in not doing anything. Because at the end of the day, the group will say, why did we hire a facilitator anyway? They didn't do anything, and still we reached all the goals we wanted to without noticing that it was due to the facilitator. So the facilitator has to be free of ego to create that space.
Yes, we have to be free. Well, it's easy to say to be free of ego, Miriam. Hear us, Speaking of presumptuous, yeah, it's easy to say, but you're right. We need to strive at foregoing all focus on the personal ego. Yeah. And we need to help the people in our processes also to do the same, because I love it that you thought of this when I uttered the word toddler. Yeah, because that is indeed that is what a toddler is, and that's when you see that a toddler gradually changes. There you go. It changes into into a child, when this ego starts forming, and then with this ego, that all of a sudden the toddler is like less attractive,
Mm.
because it becomes angry and demanding, and yeah.
Yeah.
But before that, it's like an ideal state, It's a pre-human state, actually. Yeah, the state or the phase in which we apparently or seemingly don't have any self-consciousness,
Yeah.
and then
And-
our openness to our environment is absolute.
yes. And still, and I'm very curious now. I know that you teach facilitation, that you facilitate facilitation. And it almost sounds, because as you said, it's very difficult. I think it's a getting rid of ego, doing less, I think is a high art. So as I understand it, it would first mean to teach the activities, the skills, the doing, in to then come to the point where you can actually unlearn the doing in order to learn the being.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
when you teach facilitation, how
I don't like the word unlearn,
Hmm.
but go on.
So
You were
I would
going.
be curious how you teach. How do you teach? How does someone learn to facilitate? Let's remove the word teach. How do you
Mm,
help people become facilitators?
yeah. Well, basically, that's that has been my main occupation for the last 20 or so years. Huh? That I more than facilitating directly, I facilitate facilitators. Yeah. Which is great fun because everybody is sort of like motivated and interested to do this. Yeah. How do I do this? By doing it. It's one of these lovely sentences that are like even in the Agile Manifesto. Yeah, how do we do it? Yeah, by doing it. Basically, I take facilitators through a process of uh, um, uh, impervious, transparent activities. Yeah. And when I say impervious and transparent, what I mean is that I do not explain what I do, and I do not tell them we're gonna do an activity now. Yeah. Uh, so there is there are no strict boundaries that separate the activities from the liminal spaces in between. Yeah. I try to create uh, an uninterrupted flow. Yeah? Just like when you go to a play or when you see a film, yeah, you will rarely, okay, it happens, but you will rarely see the film or the play being interrupted by someone who says, second act. You will rarely see that, in reality, we flow through this process like we flow through life. It's not something that all of a sudden somebody descends from heaven and tells you, Miriam, your adolescence is now officially over and we can start adulthood. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. It flows. So it flows, and then I let it flow for a while, and then I apply what I want them to do with their in their facilitation work. All of us at given moments, you will have to like sort of land, yeah, and all this is seemingly undesigned, and I'm
Seemingly.
yeah, I am really putting between hyphens and seemingly undesigned. Huh? and on this landing strip, you come to a moment that you ask the people around you, hey, what have we been doing? Hey, did you notice what has actually happened? Yeah. And then, however did we get here? Yeah. And how shall we proceed from here? Yeah. And people feel this as if you are taking them into account and they are co-creating their own process, which is the fact. Yeah? But actually, technically, what I am doing is I am creating iterations with reviews and retrospectives. That's technically what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But you don't have to tell this to anybody. You know, they will find out. Basically, my work in the last 20 or so years has been to turn the whole thing upside down. You know, instead of like the old-fashioned teaching approach where you say, today we are going to learn about the geography of South America. Yeah. And then we are going to see, and then the first slide with a few bullet points of, yeah. And at the end of this session, you will, you know, so learning needs, learning goals, etc. Yeah. And then content, and then at the end, assessment. Yeah. So instead of doing this, I just turn everything completely upside down. And actually, I start with some kind of an assessment. I start with harvesting pre-existing knowledge. You know, I invite people into conversations. Yeah, and I do this very slowly and very softly. Yeah, like I would start with unstructured conversation. And people sometimes ask me, oh, Francis, what do we need to do in this breakout session? What do we need to do? And then I answer them, I don't know. Talk to one another, maybe have a conversation. Yeah. And they start having conversations. Yeah. About themselves, about I don't know, about what happened in the weekend, about the death of the Queen. I don't know. So they start conversations. You know. And then after some time, I call them back and I ask them, did you have good conversations? And I remix them. And then all of a sudden I throw in the geography of Uruguay, you know, and the Paraguay River and the Uruguay River and the Bay of Uruguay. And I throw that in. Anybody of you has been there? Oh, no. And so someone says, "Oh, but I've been to Argentina." Oh, yeah, okay. And then I back into breakouts, and the discussions are now about Argentina and traveling and South America and then in the next iteration I will ask you, and how about how about mountaineering there? It's interesting. Go mountaineering there. But I have no. And then they start looking this up, you know, and then someone says, "Oh, I've found an article about the Andes Mountains," and someone else starts collecting data, and then at a given moment, I will ask them, could you put it all together like in a big drawing? Yeah, and they put it all together in a big drawing, and then again I said, hey, we've been just casually talking, and sometimes someone asks me, Francis, but when is this session going to begin? And I said,
It's almost
really?
over.
We're there, you know, we're there. Like that. Yeah. I call this process exformation. Yeah. Exformative learning, exformative facilitation, because I start with nothing. But seemingly I start with nothing, because I don't start with content. You know, the participants are creating the content themselves, but they are guided, yeah, by a facilitator who makes it easy for them to find direction and to go thither, you know, to cross the big river, go to the other shore. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they find themselves on the other shore, and they look back and they see that the facilitator is still at the other shore, at the shore where they started from, and they call back and say, "Hey, Francis, we learned a lot today, not from you, mind you."
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is good feedback.
Yes.
This is what we want, and they're happy, and they have learned by choice, and they have learned how to learn, and they have learned how to connect and to create something cooperatively and collaboratively. And this is how we create communities. This is how you want your employees to work together in an organization. We focus too much on the word organization. I don't like the word organization. The word organization is too organized. I prefer the word community. Actually, our companies are communities of people. They're communities.
Not all. They could be. They could be.
They should be.
They
They
could
should
be.
if they were. If they were, they would be.
I don't like the word should, but they could
No.
be. And what I hear from your approach, the exformative approach, is it also empowers. So, I think the learners need a high level of awareness and maturity in a way that to reflect on the process. Okay, what has happened with me? What has happened on the meta level? How much did I bring into the conversation? What has happened? What do I know now? What did I know before?
Yeah.
And then the beauty is that everyone has at the end acquired exactly the knowledge that they need in order to make something with it. So I can imagine that. Let me state it differently. A traditional facilitation training would teach a certain structure of how to design a workshop, how to guide through divergent and convergent thinking, how to align, how to guide a conversation. And then there's a huge pressure of doing it right. Whereas in your process, everyone has experienced how they showed up to the session, how they come out of the session, and can then turn it into something that will be their own. And I think the smallest fraction will, in their next sessions, do what you taught them or what you did. They will not copy you, but they will make it their own by definition, by design.
Yeah. I love everything you say. I would like to pick up a few hanging threads that I feel are there. Like first, you said that there needs to be a rather high level idea of meta thinking. Yeah, this is correct, but it doesn't need to be there from the start. It will grow in the process. These things grow in the process, and the better the facilitation process is doing its work, the more easy it will be for everyone to reach this kind of meta level viewing skill, and it's like an eternal in itself folding feedback loop in the shape of the infinity symbol, and everything steers itself, and sometimes I feel myself to be a choreographer, and all I have to do is like wave my arms in this infinity symbol, and I choreograph the space and the people in it, and the motions and the conversations, and I feel like I don't know, or I mean, you would almost think the director of an orchestra, but that's not nice, because the director then no, I feel like a choreographer,
And it's interesting. Sorry, just 1 second. I cannot not say. In my previous conversation, I interviewed a facilitator of dance improvisation. And this is what I'm thinking of when I hear you. It's not you're not choreographing. Because you don't tell them what to do. A choreographer is very precise in telling them what to do. You're not, but you're providing the space where they can improvise, and make it their own.
Yeah. This is something else from that I have from Yoshi Oida. You know, like Yoshi Oida, he basically taught actors. But all you have to do is interchange the word actor for the word facilitator, and you're there. You know. Yeah. But he said, look, there are two things. You know, there is Tai and there's you. And Tai is like it's a design format. It's a format. Tai is design, yeah, and Tai has a shape. It's a shape. It's tangible. It's a thing, you know. Tai, and then you is an abstraction of this Tai. So what do we need to do as facilitators? Yeah, we need to offer Tai. And then the you will happen in that Tai. So, and that's also how he taught actors, you know, Yoshi Oida. He told them, don't study your lines, you know, don't do this. Just don't. It will always be artificial. Yeah. Just remember where the Tai is of your presence on the stage, yeah? And go hither, go thither, yeah? And stand in that space, and you will find yourself confronted with another actor, and your lines will automatically emerge like a volcano. Yeah.
What is the Tai of a facilitator then?
Well, the Tai of the facilitator is the design that you use, and the you is what happens in the group. You know, the Tai is all the material stuff that you use. The Tai right now in our conversation is Zoom. Zoom is the Tai in which we have this conversation. Yeah, you could see it like this. You know, if the moon is Tai, then you is the moonlight. If a flower is Tai, then you is the scent of the flower, the fragrance of the flower. And so if Zoom is Tai, then the conversations that we are now having and the closeness that we have, Miriam, look at us. We are having a very close, intimate conversation within this frame.
Yes. And I think that the Tai, and that's why I was asking, goes beyond the Zoom. For me, the Tai is the sample questions that I sent you that I haven't asked yet.
Yeah. Exactly. That's also Tai. Yeah.
It's
that's
the purpose. Yes. Yeah. And
you
that's why. Yes,
that's
exactly.
your
that's why I'm curious about what your understanding of the Tai in facilitation, because it's not the agenda. So if a facilitator, I think for many facilitators, if they hear Tai is design, then they would say, oh, so it's the agenda.
Yeah.
And exactly. And that's why I was asking the question.
Yeah, you have to be very careful with design. Huh? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, of course.
Is it the container then?
I mean that everything that is Tai is designable. You can think of this up front. Yeah. But the you is the essence of your facilitation process, is completely unpredictable, because the you is created by the people that you work with. So you cannot promise to any client what will come out of a certain workshop. You cannot. You can only promise that you will provide some Tai, that you will provide some shape in which it will happen. I can only promise to a client, look, I will spend 40 hours with this team. Yeah. And I presume that something will happen and something will emerge. And I can tell you what I hope will emerge. But I cannot guarantee that this will happen because I have never met the people, and everything happens only once, you know. Everything. This is also what I teach to my student facilitators. You cannot prepare because everything happens only once. There is only one time in my life that I will be on Zoom with this state of mind talking to Miriam. Yeah, this will only, it's a one time phenomenon. Yeah? The next time we meet, I will be older, you will be older, I will have different experiences, you will have different experiences, we will have different day. I don't know, I live in Southeast Asia, it's 34 degrees, it was rather sunny today, which is exceptional. Normally it's always clouded. This has an impact on who I am now. I had a rather okay day, but yeah. So the next time we meet, we will have changed.
Yes.
So there is no point in telling each other or assuring each other, I don't want to change. It's possible that you don't want to change, but changing you will.
Yes. Yes. And yes, we would like to predict, we would love to know, but we cannot. And I'm very curious in your answer to the standard question. What makes a workshop fail?
Oh, but that's an easy question. A workshop fails when it didn't have to be.
Mm.
When it didn't have to be, it fails, or when it happens at the wrong moment, too early in the it very often happens way too early in the process. Yeah.
And
Like
then,
for instance, I can give you an example for this. Huh?
and I would
So,
like to challenge you.
okay, do go ahead.
So if everything only happens once,
Mm,
and everything that happens once has an impact what happens after, right?
mm,
So if we meet again, we'll both have changed.
mm,
So a workshop always changes something
mm,
because it brings together people in a very specific constellation. They will interact. And even if they don't interact, something
precisely.
will change. That's what we call meditation.
Yeah, that's people putting people together in a room and be silent together. I do
Exactly.
that. I
Yes.
I practice that. I do that.
And
People often say afterwards that were the
I
best.
had my Vipassana retreats have been of the most life changing in my
Oh, oh,
experience. It's basically, yeah, doing
oh.
nothing
And the
together.
power, yeah. The power is in sitting together.
Exactly. So applying all of this, what you have
Mm,
said, then there is no workshop that can remain, that can leave things unchanged.
precisely, that's true.
So
Yeah.
there is no failed workshop.
That is in a way true. Yeah. Um, but there is another reality, a little bit more pragmatic reality.
Thank
Your
you.
reality is very beautiful. It's very beautiful. It's very poetic, and I love it. And I wish I could tell this to everybody, and I can tell this to everybody, but people will stop hiring me. I don't know. Yeah. But it's beautiful, and you're right. Yeah. But the pragmatic reality is that when we organize workshops, we are very very eager for like uh, leaps of change. Change comes in quanta, like in the process, like in heaps. It's not. Change is not.
Linear.
What we do is a flow. What we do
Mm-hmm.
is a flow, but the change comes in little jumps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we want these little jumps. Yeah, and let me give you an example. I'm working right now with this client, you know, and the topic is working together with offshore teams. The, the participants of which are far away destinations in the world, yeah, and belong to completely different kind of culture, yeah, and so I conduct these teams towards, yeah, I try to facilitate their working together. Yeah, yeah. So my client wants me to have workshops. Yeah. And the budget says that, so there's a business reality behind all this, yeah. And then I try, I try to convince this I don't know. So we have this little negotiation, but the client wants workshops, so okay. I start with a workshop, and of course in this workshop, what can I do? These people have never met each other. Also, the offshore people have been hired because they are cheaper, and they're going to replace the other people. Yeah. So the social atmosphere is not very wholesome. Yeah. To start with. Yeah. So what can I do? I organize conversational patterns. I choreograph for them conversational waves. Yeah,
That's a
we have
tie.
conversations. We have conversations. First, completely empty conversations without any assignment, and then I ask them to have conversations about their names, about their childhood memories, about things like that. Things that differentiate them, but at the same time lay bare the fact that everybody is human and equal, and whether you have a colleague way down in Argentina or in India or on the Philippines or in the UK, yeah, basically we're all just human beings, and so I tried at the same time to bring to the surface differences and non-differences. Yeah, and I do all this. Yeah, and then afterwards they go back to their managers and they say, this workshop was completely useless, we didn't learn anything. So the manager calls me and says, Francis, what happened? I thought you were like a magic facilitator, but nothing has happened. Everyone tells me that it was a complete waste of time. Yeah, waste of time. They didn't learn anything. So there I am, This workshop just came too early. It was not the time for a workshop yet, because there were issues unaddressed that came before, other issues of change, like all of a sudden we're going to work with outsourced people. We're going to work with offshore people. All of a sudden, we're going to have to cope with people who speak English in a different way. We don't want this. All of a sudden, we are going to have to work with people in different social circumstances. We don't want this. We don't want to lose our job. We don't want these cheap workers to come here. This needs to be addressed first.
What would you have done differently with your knowledge of today in this first session?
Well, that's a very difficult question, because I think honestly that I would not have accepted this assignment within these restraints. Yeah, because this assignment is necessarily bigger than an event. See what I mean? Yeah. Very often, people like us, we are hired, to deliver an event, like this glass,
to cover up.
This event we need to deliver, but we live in a systemic world, I think in terms of systems and these are complex processes, and it's full of features that pop up. So what I need in order to realize something is I need time with this team.
And
I need to have conversations with this team, and I need time with this team, and I need them to have conversations before I tell them which conversations they have to have. Yeah. Because that's push,
Yeah. And thank you for sharing the story, because I think that very often we are hired, we as facilitators are hired for some facilitation instead of
I love that word.
facilitation. I learned it from a previous guest. To basically manipulate into process something that has already been predefined, and we have to make it right. And the workshop is the magic stick. But the answer, the facilitation doesn't mean, and that's, I think, the essence of your work, as far as I have understood it until now, is facilitation is not the design of a workshop or a conversation, is to hold the space for a group of humans to transform and to be willing to face change that is inevitable.
Yeah. Facilitation is actually designed for social innovation and change. Yeah. And not just design, but also delivery.
Yeah.
So it's both. And this requires time. Yeah. And the only way that we can do this properly is if we are allotted the time to do this. But this requires an enormous lot of trust. And I do understand that companies have strict agendas and calendars and think in terms of events. Just like I do understand that companies think in silos of departments, but I also do know that it is high time to get away with the silos, and for the same token, we need to cross boundaries, and I do also that we need to stop seeing workshops as miracle solutions, as single events, like floating on some ocean like an oil platform. A workshop is not an oil platform. The work of the facilitator is in the ocean.
Exactly. Yes.
It's not on the platform.
Yes.
It's in the ocean. So sometimes I find employers who I can have nice conversations with, and then I would ask them things like, you know what, host me for 100 hours.
Yes.
I will be your perfect guest. Yeah? But grant me the time to spend time in your community and with these people, and just give me like 100 hours, and you don't have to pay me. And then I sometimes I get granted this opportunity, and these are the marvels of facilitation. And then you step into this, and yeah, like 100 hours, and then I sometimes 100 is basically 2 weeks. So and I would tell the client, after that I will get back to you, and we'll discuss where we can start. And then sometimes it happens that after this time, I get back to the client. The client says, okay, what are you going to do now? When will the workshop start? And then I say, it's done. It's over. Just check it out. The work is done. Yeah. And then I tell the client, yeah, if you feel that something of value has happened, yeah, feel free to pay me any amount you want. Yeah. This is how I like to work. And I am very fortunate. I am a little bit of an older man, so I have a little bit of a reputation, and I can build on that. And I am very fortunate that some people give me these kind of assignments, these kind of possibilities, offer me these kind of stages on which I can do the choreography of change.
And there's so much to unpack. And the first image that comes to my mind refers back to something that you have said before at the very beginning, that the facilitator is kind of this invisible force. And in this example, you bring it to the extreme where you facilitate invisibly. The client doesn't even know that they have hired you already. So you're indeed doing things, you're facilitating conversations by your presence without doing something, because you're doing wouldn't be legitimate because you didn't get an assignment. So you're not doing, but you're being. So you have pure presence.
I'm being an easy guest.
Yes. So I find this fascinating. High skill of facilitation. And I wonder what it would mean to if this became more the practice than the exception, because it's based on, and that's what I wanted to unpack with you. You said a few things. You spoke about silos, and to break down silos, yes, it takes time, and more than time, it takes the sense of safety. There's a good reason why we operate in silos. These are the people that speak the same language, where we have a structure, we understand what's happening. So in order to break down silos or to dissolve them, how do we create the safety? And that's not through one workshop, but through a process that similar to what you just described, facilitating the organization becoming a community.
Yeah, and you need to bring people together community-wise, and like in a micro community is actually a family household. And suppose that you would live in your household in silos. Yeah, so you would have silos. Many silos are possible. Females and males. Yeah. So I'm just saying anything. You and your daughter have a silo, and then and you do female stuff, yeah? And then there's another silo for the father and the son. I'm saying anything, just as a quick example.
And then you have the non-binary silo that suddenly emerged that nobody has been aware before, but that has always been there without being addressed.
Precisely.
It's a very good example,
How viable would this model be? Or imagine you have the silo of the adults, the grown-ups, and the silo of the children, and you do not interact with each other because the grown-ups speak the same language, they understand one another, and the children, they speak the language. How viable a model would this be? It's not. Ideally, community-wise, when you start thinking of communities, and this I have also from Rabindranath Tagore, and when you start thinking of communities, basically, it is every day bring your child to work day, and it is every day bring your parents to work day. And the community of co-workers revolves around this common idea of creation or adding value or providing a service, and everybody is involved,
And this is a very utopian view of what community is, because coming back to your example, parents and children being in their silos and not communicating each other because they feel safe in their language, that's reality in many families. Male and female not communicating with each other, different religions not communicating with each other, that's a reality in many, air quotes, communities, because it doesn't feel safe, or because they don't have the language, or because they...
But Miriam, we have to be careful with the word utopia. Suppose you need a plumber because your sewage pipe is blocked. You need a plumber. So you call upon the plumber, and the plumber says, "Oh, Mrs. Mrs. Hartness, I could come next week, and I could really clean this whole thing up and unblock your sewage drain." And then you say, "But this is a utopia. This is not possible. Look at the reality. The reality is blocked. So don't sell me your utopias." Yeah, it's the same thing, a utopia it's basically a solution that we're selling you, and we use the word utopia because you don't believe in it.
You
So
don't see that it could be possible. Thank you.
exactly.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
you need some kind of,
Hope.
Yeah.
So maybe facilitators are hope bringers.
Yeah, they make it easy for you to see that it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would like to
Or they
come.
make it easy for you to accept that something can be done.
And therefore, yes, I agree to what you said, that you need this trust by your client, that they trust you to come in and to let the magic happen.
Yeah.
And even without first agreeing to let you come in for 100 hours without paying, but already being committed to pay for these 100 hours, trusting that something will come out, right? And I wonder, and maybe you have an idea, what it would take to manifest the idea that we will eventually speed up if we slow down. Because we all hear it from clients. We don't have time. We don't have time to have more than one workshop. We don't have time for proper introductions. We don't have time to connect to each other on this human level, to have unstructured conversations.
Don't have time for retrospectives. We need to work. Let us do our job.
Exactly.
Stop. Yeah, that's it. That's what we.
And once we experience how fast it can go after we slow down, because we invested the time in the with perspective, in creating connections, in having these unstructured conversations, even in the learning, it will go faster if everyone understands by their own experience instead of being taught.
Yeah, Miriam, this brings us back to provocative absence. This brings us back to this, because you say slowing down, but basically what a good facilitator can do is just take away things. Just make things absent. And by making useless elements absent, taking them away. And this is why we proceed. And this is why, so again, we've discussed this earlier. Sometimes it's the negative value that you create. By taking away something, I'm giving you something. If I take away the time that you spent worrying, then not only have I solved your worries, but I have given you the time as well. Yeah. So I'm offering you this. I'm not taking this time. I'm taking this time away. So for a facilitator to spend yet more time with the group or with the team or with the community, and to spend more time in doing more activities, this is not time taken away. It's time taken away. You see what I mean?
Yes.
It's not stealing time. It's not something, it's not costing time. It's literally gaining time. Because we take away the unnecessary surplus of things. We take away the tensions, and we end up minus the tensions, minus the misunderstandings, minus the bottlenecks, the block issues, minus all that. We take all that away.
Yeah.
So we're not stealing time to do that. We're giving time.
Removing obstacles to make it easy to flow.
Precisely.
I like that.
Yeah, this is how we need to reframe our work in that sense, because otherwise we will always be seen as people trying just to sell workshops. I don't want to sell workshops. Workshops are probably not the answer.
In most cases, workshops are not the answer. And I think it's easy to sell, and sometimes it's an easy excuse, because even the worries and the meetings and everything that we all complain about, what is actually the higher value we get from it? I believe that people love to sit in meetings because it's a fantastic excuse that they didn't have time to do the work that they were actually supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
they're placeholders for other things. Huh?
yeah,
All these useless things that we do hold the place and the time for something else.
yeah. After so many years facilitating, what's your number one facilitation challenge?
Well, the challenge is overcoming unwillingness and unpreparedness. The challenge is when you are thrown into a process that is not ready to receive you. Because
Mm.
as a facilitator, I want to be, just like I told you, I want to be a guest. I don't like the word consultant. I am a guest. I am an easy guest. And being an easy guest, yeah, I will point out things to you. Like suppose that I would be your guest in your house or your apartment, Miriam. Yeah, I would not need to give you advice or anything. Yeah, but I would probably discover that you put the bread there and the butter there, and it would be so much easier if you would put the butter there in this unexpected place where you have never thought of, because you are used to your uh, faulty process, but I'm not. You know, I so I make it easy for you to reorganize your house
Mm.
because of being just an easy guest. You know, I make it I make it easy for you to reorganize it, to I make it easy for you to apply change. I make it easy for you to transform your apartment or whatever it is into something new that will be that will permit you to be a better host for the next guest. And we're in the hospitality business, you know. The client is the host and we are the guests. And the employees in an organization, they are the hotel staff, you know. They are the waiters, and they don't realize that their processes and they because they're in it, and
Mm.
because they have guests, they are confronted with things that need to change, and they will want to change because they will see that their guests who are confronted with
Complain.
with blocked drainages, these guests are not the easy guests. Huh? Everybody wants easy guests.
Mm. Beautiful
So I
metaphor.
love this metaphor. I love this metaphor,
Yeah.
and I want to be guests, you know. And as so, will I be a paying guest in a way? But in the end, you will probably be so happy with the fact that I have been your guest. Yeah. And all I want from you is be a good host. So I want, I don't know, a badge to get into your thing and the right and the authority to speak to people. If you forbid me to speak to people, then it doesn't make any sense.
Mm. Invisible facilitation,
Yeah,
or beyond the workshop.
yeah,
These are the hashtags that come to my mind when I hear you speaking.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm. Well,
Thank you so much.
it was very nice talking to you, Miriam, on this very late hour for me, yeah, because we do have some time difference here.
Yes, true. It is very late for you.
It is, yeah. It is, yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate you
I'm in
taking the time.
Far East, yeah, and you're in Europe. Mm. Right. Okay.
Thank you.
It was my pleasure, Miriam. Yeah. I hope to speak to you soon again. Yeah.
You
And
too.
of course, into more of your remarkable and beautiful and always warm and appreciative audio tapes, yeah, on facilitation. Yeah.
Thank you,
Much
Francis.
your work. Yeah.